World War II is often remembered as a war balanced on a knife's edge, as if victory could have gone either way until the very end. But that image is misleading. Once the conflict became global, once it turned into an industrial war spanning continents, the balance quietly shifted. Not because the Allies were smarter in every battle, and not because they made fewer mistakes, but because the structure of the war itself began to favor them. This is the story of why, long before Berlin fell, the Allies were already positioned to win. Early German victories created a powerful illusion of superiority. Fast campaigns, decisive breakthroughs, and the rapid collapse of enemy armies made Germany appear unstoppable. But blitzkrieg was not a strategy designed for a long war. By 1942, the conflict had transformed into something Germany was not prepared for: a war of factories, supply chains, and constant replacement. The United States alone produced more steel, oil, and industrial goods than all Axis powers combined. American industry did not aim to match German production. It aimed to overwhelm it. Aircraft were built faster than they could be destroyed. Tanks rolled off assembly lines in numbers that made individual losses almost irrelevant. Germany, meanwhile, struggled with limited resources, inefficient organization, and competing priorities. What looked like military genius early on slowly collided with industrial reality. For the Allies, production itself became a weapon. Liberty ships were built so quickly that some were launched in a matter of weeks. Aircraft production reached levels that had once seemed impossible. This scale changed the way the Allies fought. Losses were expected. Attrition was acceptable. A destroyed tank was not a disaster. It was a statistic. Germany could not fight this way. Each loss mattered more. Each destroyed factory, refinery, or rail hub cut deeper into its ability to continue the war. As the conflict dragged on, this imbalance became impossible to reverse. While battles dominated headlines, a quieter struggle decided the outcome: logistics. The Allies planned operations around supply first and combat second. Ports were captured not for glory, but for tonnage. Railways were repaired as fast as armies advanced. The Normandy invasion succeeded not only because of courage, but because millions of tons of supplies followed the soldiers ashore. Germany consistently failed at this level. Its armies advanced faster than fuel could reach them. Rail networks collapsed under strain. Trucks broke down without spare parts. Entire offensives stalled not because of enemy resistance, but because fuel simply ran out. Wars are not lost when soldiers stop fighting. They are lost when armies can no longer move. Germany also faced a growing disadvantage in manpower. It fought as if wars were decided by elite units and decisive moments. The Allies fought knowing wars are decided by numbers over time. The Soviet Union absorbed catastrophic losses and continued fighting. The United States mobilized millions without exhausting its population. Training systems continuously replaced fallen soldiers. Equipment losses were offset by rising production. Germany had no such margin. Veteran units were destroyed and replaced with undertrained formations. Experience was lost faster than it could be rebuilt. By 1944, Germany was fighting with weakened versions of its former army. Another crucial advantage for the Allies was distance. American industry was untouchable across the Atlantic. Soviet factories were dismantled and rebuilt far beyond German reach. Even major defeats did not threaten total collapse. Germany had no comparable depth. Strategic bombing targeted oil refineries, factories, and transportation networks directly. Every successful raid reduced Germany's ability to fight. The Axis powers were compressed into shrinking territory, while the Allies operated on a global scale. Time magnified this difference with every passing month. By the middle of the war, Germany was fighting on too many fronts. In the east against the Soviet Union, in the air against strategic bombers, in the Mediterranean, in the Atlantic, and eventually in Western Europe. The Allies applied pressure deliberately. No single front was expected to win the war alone. Each one existed to drain German resources from the others. Germany could not concentrate strength without exposing weakness somewhere else. Every delay strengthened the Allied position. Perhaps the most underestimated Allied advantage was patience. They did not rush decisive battles before conditions were favorable. They waited until production, logistics, and manpower made success almost unavoidable. The Normandy landings occurred only when the Allies knew they could sustain them. Germany, in contrast, was forced into a constant reaction, always responding, always stretched, always short on time. By the final years of the war, defeat was no longer about tactics or bravery. It was about inevitability. World War II was not won by a single invasion or a single general. It was won by systems that outproduced, outmoved, and outlasted the enemy. Once the war became global and industrial, Germany was fighting a conflict it could not mathematically win. From that moment on, the question was never whether the Allies would prevail, but how long it would take. Once the conflict became global and industrial, the outcome was no longer a question of if, but when, and when the war finally ended, it ended exactly as those systems predicted, and by 1945, that answer was clear. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. See you soon.